Today we're going to discuss and give demonstration on processing a manual check on site for customers directly. One of the most advantageous functions of the CompassHRM system is that you can process manual checks and print them locally on site without having to request an expensive immediate delivery of a manual check. These checks will post directly into your payment run. The taxes will be collected directly, and you will simply be able to produce the net pay on site at that time. In payroll entry, being the first step to take, go to payroll entry via pay entry tasks, or click on pay run and go to payroll entry. You'll find yourself with an employee that we need to process a manual check payment for. The first thing that we need to do is to pick the earning code with which we want to pay. In this particular case, we missed payment on an individual's pay, and we need to pay them 10 hours of their standard rate, and we have the option to pick the check code type. Now, you are allowed to use any check code for a manual check. However, one should be set up for you with a manual check code. These check codes could be preset with what deductions you want to override at any particular time. So bonus checks may not require the collection of Section 125 deductions. An expense check may only allot for reimbursements. All these setups can be done by your implementation specialist during your conversion. For this example, we use manual check. Since I would not like, and we'll assume that we have not set up any overrides for deductions. I know this employee has a dental deduction and an ER dental contribution that we would like to make sure that we override on this manual check. The way to do that is to simply click the particular deduction code, and we're going to make sure that we type 0 in on the override. Then once I do that, I click Save. That is how I tie the deduction code to the check code. Okay, so the deduction and the earnings will all fall in line on the same check. Now, I also know that this particular employee does not have these deductions. That was primarily used just for an example purposes, but that's just how you would do that. So I've got the manual check. I'm ready to process a manual check payment. What I'd like to do is click on the Define a Manual Check Code for this particular employee. And I'm going to say OK. What's going to happen here is we're going to be sent to a similar processing as the gross to net, but it looks different. It says manual check. And so what happens here is that we have a free form fields here in the federal income tax or the check payment form that could be used however we see fit. So if we need to increase fit or increase or modify Social Security, Medicare, we can do that at any given time. I apologize for jumping screens there. Once we get to the check payment itself, then what I'm going to need to do is to make any adjustments I need to make and then pick a date. Once I do that, I'm going to hit Apply. That's going to give me a gross to net processing again, which will have the check payment amount and the fixed changes that I have. Then I would simply hit Print, pick a check number. If I click this button right here, we'll apply the next check number, and then I click Print. Printing the check itself will post that check to that register calendar that we've selected, in which case we will be able to pick up the taxes in the payroll calendar via ACH, pay run, and you'll be able to print that check right there on site via PDF format. Once you've completed the manual check, you're done, and once you've printed that check, you simply need to just give it to the employee in question, and you'll be able to close. Now, this particular one, if I don't want to proceed with the manual check and I actually want to delete it, I just click delete, and the manual check will not appear. I simply would clear it out of the pay entry and then click save. So just for a brief review, when you're doing a manual check, pick the earnings type you want and the check code, manual check or bonus check, or commission check, depending on the check code you're trying to produce. Make sure that you override the deductions, employee, employer if necessary, and then just simply follow the directions in the manual check function. Now, you always must have a entry to prepare for manual check to process a manual check. You can just as easily process a gross to net for that check before you go into the manual check entry if need be. It's totally up to you. Should you have any other questions or need direct support in the first time you use the manual check function, please go to support.compasshrm.com, click on Administrator, scroll to the very bottom footer, and click Contact Support. Follow the directions to submit a support email request, or contact your implementation or your customer support representative for direct assistance in processing a manual check.